Captain Lee Tae-min stood on the bridge of the UEC Defiance, watching the enemy fleet appear on his screens. The ships were huge, black, and covered in spikes that looked like teeth. He had never seen anything like them before. Nobody on Earth had. "How many?" he asked his officer. 50 ships, sir." "Maybe more coming," replied Lieutenant Park Sang-ho, his voice shaking a little. Lee Tae-min nodded. The human fleet had only 12 ships. They were smaller, older, and weaker than what was coming toward them. But they were all Earth had left. 3 months ago, the aliens had sent a message to Earth. It was simple and cold. You will surrender your planet. You will serve the galactic hegemony. You have one cycle to decide. The world leaders had talked for days. Some wanted to fight. Others wanted to give up. In the end, they chose to fight. Lee Tae-min was glad. He would rather die than bow to aliens who thought humans were nothing. The alien ships were called Vorthik. They ruled most of the galaxy. They had been ruling for thousands of years. Their technology was better than anything humans could dream of. Their weapons could destroy planets. Their ships could travel faster than light without any trouble. But Lee Tae-min did not care about any of that. He looked at his crew. Young men and women who had left their families to fight for Earth. They were scared, but they were ready. "Sir, they are sending another message," said Communications Officer Kim Min-ji. "Put it on screen," Lee Ta-min said. A face appeared on the main screen. It was not human. The creature had gray skin, yellow eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, its voice was cold and flat. "I am Commander Vexter of the Vorthik Fifth Fleet. You have chosen to resist. This is not logical. Your ships are weak. Your weapons are old. You cannot win. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." Lee Tae-min stepped forward. "This is Captain Lee Tae-min of the United Earthship Defiance. You can take your surrender and go to hell." The alien looked confused. "Hell? What is this word? You speak of places that do not exist. This shows why your species is not ready for the galaxy. You will be removed." The screen went dark. On another ship, Dr. Park So-young was watching everything happen. She was not a soldier. She was a doctor who studied how people think and act. The Earth government had asked her to come because they wanted to understand their enemy. She was on the U.E.'s Courage with Captain Yoon Hae-ri. Captain Yoon was young, maybe 25 years old, but she was smart and brave. Her ship was small, with only 50 people on it. "Dr. Park," Captain Yoon said, "what do you think about these aliens?" Park So-young looked at the data on her screen. They are very logical. Everything they do makes sense from their point of view. They have been winning wars for thousands of years using the same methods. And what methods are those? They show up with bigger ships and better weapons. The enemy sees they cannot win, so they give up. Simple and clean. Captain Yoon smiled. Too bad for them that humans are not simple or clean. Back on the Defiance, the battle was about to start. Admiral Kim Jae-ho, the leader of all human forces, sent a message to every ship. "Today we fight not just for Earth, but for the right to be free. These aliens think we will run away when we see their big ships. They think we will cry and beg when their weapons are pointed at us. They do not know us very well." Lee Tae-min felt proud. Admiral Kim had been a hero of his since he was a child. The old man had fought in every human war for the past 30 years. If anyone could lead them against impossible odds, it was him. "All ships, attack pattern Delta. Show them what humans can do," Admiral Kim ordered. The human ships moved forward. They were so much smaller than the alien vessels that they looked like insects flying toward giants. But they moved fast and turned quickly. The Vorthik ships opened fire first. Their weapons were beams of pure energy that could cut through metal like paper. 3 human ships died in the first few seconds. The U's harmony exploded in a ball of vol. Fire. The U-E's Liberty broke in half. The U-E's Freedom spun out of control and crashed into an asteroid. But the other human ships kept coming. Captain Yoon Hei-ri saw that her ship was badly damaged. Half her crew was dead. Her engines were failing. But she had an idea. "Dr. Park, I need you to get to the escape pods," she said. "What are you doing?" Park So-young asked. "Something the aliens will not expect." Captain Yoon turned her ship directly toward the biggest alien vessel. It was a massive ship, probably carrying thousands of alien soldiers. Her small ship would normally try to run away from something so large. Instead, she pushed her engines to maximum power. The aliens noticed what she was doing. Commander Vexter appeared on her screen again. "Human ship, you are flying toward certain destruction. Change course immediately." This action serves no logical purpose. Captain Yoon laughed. "Logic? You want to know about logic? Here is some human logic for you." She turned on her ship's communication system so that every ship in the battle could hear her, human and alien alike. "My name is Captain Yoon Hei-ri of the United Earthship Courage. I am 25 years old. I have a mother and father back on Earth who love me. I have a brother who just started college. I have a boyfriend who is going to ask me to marry him when I got home." Her ship was getting closer to the alien vessel. The aliens were firing everything they had at her, but she kept coming. "I will never see any of them again, but that is okay, because today I get to show the galaxy what humans are made of. We do not surrender. We do not run away. And we sure as hell do not bow to anyone." Her ship smashed into the side of the alien vessel. The explosion was so bright that it could be seen from the other side of the solar system. The massive alien ship, which had seemed invincible just moments before, broke apart and died. Across the alien fleet there was silence. Commander Vexter stared at his screens. In all his years of war, he had never seen anything like this. The human had killed herself just to damage his fleet. It made no sense. But the other humans were not finished. All across the battle, human ships were doing impossible things. They were ramming alien vessels, even when they could have escaped. They were fighting until their ships fell apart around them. When their weapons broke, they used their ships as weapons. Admiral Kim Ji-ho watched his fleet die around him. But he was not sad. He was proud. Each human ship that died took alien ships with them. The enemy had expected an easy victory. Instead, they were learning what it meant to fight humans. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, only 2 human ships were left. The alien fleet had lost 15 ships and had many more damaged. They had won, but it was not the victory they expected. Commander Vexter sent a report back to his leaders. He did not understand what had happened. The humans had fought like they were crazy. They had died for no good reason. It was not logical, but deep in his mind, a small part of him was worried. If humans could do this much damage when they were weak, what would happen when they got stronger? He did not know that this was exactly what Dr. Park So-young had hoped he would think. 6 months had passed since the great battle. The aliens had won, just like everyone knew they would. Earth was under their control now. Alien ships flew in the sky above every major city. Alien soldiers walked through the streets, but something was wrong. Commander Vexter stood in his new office in what used to be the United Nations building in New York. He was supposed to be the governor of Earth now. His job was simple: make the humans work for the galactic hegemony and stop any trouble. Before it started, the problem was that the trouble never stopped. "Sir, we have another report," said his assistant, a younger Vorthik named Kellner. The mining operation on Mars has been attacked again. Vexter looked at the report. This was the 15th attack on Mars this month. The humans were not supposed to be able to fight anymore. They had no ships, no weapons, no organized military, but somehow they kept attacking. How many humans were involved? Vexter asked. Just 3, sir. They broke into the main power station and destroyed it with explosives. The entire mining operation will be shut down for weeks. Did we capture them? No, sir. They all died in the explosion. It appears they knew they would die when they set off the bombs. Vexter threw the report across the room. This made no sense. Why would 3 humans kill themselves just to shut down a mining operation for a few weeks? It served no purpose. The aliens would just fix everything and start again. But this was happening everywhere. On Mars, on the Moon, on Earth itself. Small groups of humans would attack alien facilities and die in the process. They were not trying to win a war. They were just trying to cause problems. Lieutenant Colonel Choi Min-ho was hiding in an old subway tunnel under the city of Seoul. He had been a soldier in the Earth Defense Force before the invasion. Now he was the leader of what the humans called the Seoul Underground. With him were 12 other people. Some had been soldiers like him. Others were just ordinary people who could not stand living under alien rule. They had no real plan to defeat the aliens. They just wanted to make life difficult for them. We hit the food distribution center tomorrow night, Choi Min-ho told his group. The aliens are using it to feed their soldiers in this sector. That will just make them angry, sighed Corporal Shin the Jin. She had been an explosives expert in the army. Now she made bombs out of whatever she could find. Good, Choi Min-ho replied. Angry aliens make mistakes, and when they make mistakes, more humans see what they really are. The truth was that Choi Min-ho did not expect to live much longer. None of them did. Every time they attacked an alien facility, the aliens got better at hunting them down. But that was not the point. The point was to show other humans that they could still fight back. On the other side of the solar system, Dr. Park So-young was working in a hidden laboratory on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. She had escaped Earth during the invasion and was now studying everything she could about the aliens. She was not alone. Professor Nam Ki-woo was with her. He had been studying alien biology before the war. Now he was trying to understand how the aliens thought. Look at this, Professor Nam said, showing her a recording from one of the alien communication networks. They are asking their home worlds for advice on how to deal with human resistance. Park So-young watched the recording. The alien commander was clearly frustrated. He was explaining that humans kept doing things that made no sense. They would die to destroy things that could be easily replaced. They would fight even when they had no chance of winning. They do not understand us at all, she said with a smile. Is that good or bad? Professor Nam asked. It is very good. Look, they have been conquering planets for thousands of years. Every species they have ever fought has been logical. When the other species saw they could not win, they gave up. That is the smart thing to do. But humans are not logical. Oh, we can be logical when we need to be. But we can also be something else. We can be stubborn. We can be angry. We can decide that some things are more important than staying alive. Park So-young began typing on her computer. She was working on something she called the Vorthic Weakness. It was a study of everything she had learned about the aliens. They are like a computer, she explained to Professor Nam. They do what makes the most sense. They always choose the option that gives them the best results with the least cost. This has made them very successful. So what is the problem? The problem is that they cannot understand an enemy who does not think like a computer. When humans do something that makes no logical sense, the aliens do not know how to respond. Back on Earth, the attacks were getting worse. Corporal Shin. The Jinn had just blown up another alien supply depot. This time, she had managed to escape alive, which was unusual. She met with Choi Min-ho in an abandoned building. "The aliens are starting to change their tactics," she reported. "They are putting more guards around their facilities. They are also starting to punish human civilians when we attack." Choi Min-ho nodded. He had heard about this. When the Resistance attacked an alien facility, the aliens would arrest random humans from nearby areas. Sometimes they would kill them as an example to others. "Does this make you want to stop?" he asked. Shin, the Jinn, looked angry. "No, it makes me want to hit them harder." This was exactly what Park So-young had predicted. The aliens thought that threatening innocent people would make the Resistance stop attacking, but it had the opposite effect. It made more humans angry, and angry humans were dangerous. Commander Vexter was learning this lesson the hard way. Every action he took to stop the Resistance seemed to make it stronger. When he arrested suspected Resistance members, their friends and families joined the Resistance. When he destroyed human buildings as punishment, more humans became willing to die to hurt his forces. He sent another report to his superiors. "The humans are not responding to standard pacification procedures. Threats of punishment do not deter them. Demonstrations of superior force do not intimidate them. I request additional guidance." The response from his superiors was not helpful. Continue. Standard procedures. All species eventually accept hegemony rule. The humans are no different. But Vexter was beginning to think that humans were very different indeed. The breaking point came when the Resistance attacked the alien headquarters. In Tokyo, it was a suicide mission led by a young human named Captain Moon Young-ho. He had survived the original battle at Earth and had been organizing resistance cells across Asia. Moon Young-ho and 5 other humans broke into the heavily guarded building. They fought their way to the main communication center and destroyed it before alien security could stop them. All 6 humans died in the attack, but before he died, Moon Young-ho sent a message to every human on Earth. It was broadcast on every communication channel the Resistance had. "This is Captain Moon Young-ho. In a few minutes, I will be dead, but I want every human to hear this message. The aliens think they have won. They think we will eventually give up and accept their rule. They are wrong." His voice was calm and steady, even though explosions could be heard in the background. "We are humans. We do not give up. We do not bow down. We do not accept defeat. Every day that we resist, we prove that freedom is more important than safety. Every attack we make shows the galaxy that some things cannot be conquered." The message ended with the sound of a massive explosion as the building came down. Across Earth, humans who had been hiding came out of their homes. They had heard Moon Young-ho's message, and it gave them hope. More resistance cells formed. More attacks were planned. Commander Vexter realized that he was facing something his species had never encountered before. An enemy that became stronger when it was hurt. An enemy that would rather die than surrender. For the first time in his life, he began to wonder if the galactic hegemony could actually lose a war. Deep in her hidden laboratory, Dr. Park So-young was working on the final part of her study. She had figured out the aliens' greatest weakness. They were too logical for their own good, and she had a plan to use that weakness against them. The Vorthik High Command was worried. For the first time in thousands of years, they were facing a problem they could not solve with bigger ships and better weapons. War Master Zendrik stood before the Council of Dominion, the most powerful aliens in the galaxy. He was the greatest military leader the Vorthik had ever produced. He had conquered more worlds than any other commander in their history, but he could not conquer Earth. "The human resistance continues to grow," he reported to the Council. "Every month, they conduct more attacks. Every month, more humans joined their cause. Standard pacification methods had failed. How is this possible? Asked Council Leader Morthen. Humans are a primitive species. Their technology is centuries behind ours. They should have accepted defeat by now. That is the problem, Zendrik replied. They do not accept defeat. Even when facing certain death, they continue to fight. This behavior is not logical. The council members looked at each other. They had ruled the galaxy through logic and superior force. Every species they had ever encountered had eventually seen the wisdom of surrender. The Vorthik way was efficient and clean. Why fight when you cannot win? Perhaps we need to study them more carefully, suggested Council Member Vecthos. We must understand why they behave this way. And so the Vorthik began their greatest mistake. Dr. Kang Gong Haiyan was a psychologist from Seoul National University. He had been captured 3 months ago while trying to help wounded resistance fighters. Now he was in a Vorthik prison facility on the moon. But this was not an ordinary prison. The aliens had turned it into something they called a human behavioral analysis center. They were trying to understand how humans thought and acted. Every day, they brought him to a small room, where alien scientists asked him questions. Why do humans fight when they cannot win? Asked the lead scientist, whose name was Hexter. Because winning is not always the point, Kang Dong Haiyan replied. Explain this concept. Sometimes people fight because it is the right thing to do. Sometimes they fight to protect others. Sometimes they fight because giving up would mean losing who they are. Hexter made notes on his computer. But fighting when you cannot win results in death. Death serves no purpose. For humans, some things are more important than staying alive. The alien looked confused. What could be more important than survival? Freedom, love, honor, the right to make your own choices. These conversations went on for hours every day. The aliens were trying to create a complete map of human psychology. They wanted to understand every reason why humans acted the way they did. In another part of the facility, Sergeant Major Oh Young-sik was dealing with a different kind of experiment. The aliens were trying to train their own soldiers to fight. Like humans. Oh Young-sik had been a drill instructor in the Korean Army. The aliens thought he could teach their soldiers how to be irrationally brave like humans. Today you will learn about human tactical concepts. An alien instructor named Vexthos told a group of young Vorthik soldiers. The human prisoner will demonstrate. Oh Young-sik looked at the alien soldiers. They were all exactly the same height and weight. They moved in perfect formation. They never questioned orders. They were like machines pretending to be alive. You want to learn how humans fight? He asked them. Fine. The first lesson is this. Stop thinking like robots. Explain, said Vexthos. Human soldiers do not just follow orders. They think for themselves. They adapt. They do things that do not make sense to the enemy. That is why you cannot beat us. The aliens tried to write this down in their manuals. They created something called Adaptive Tactical Thinking Protocol. They trained their soldiers to sometimes ignore orders and do unexpected things. The results were disastrous. In their first test battle simulation, Vorthik soldiers trained in human tactics became confused and disorganized. Some refused to follow any orders at all. Others tried to do brave things but just got themselves killed for no reason. The aliens did not understand that human courage came from the heart, not from a training manual. Private Lim Soo-jin was 18 years old when she was captured. She had been a communications officer in the Resistance. The aliens found her diary and became fascinated by it. Her diary was full of her thoughts and feelings about the war. She wrote about missing her family. She wrote about being scared, but fighting anyway. She wrote about her friends who had died, and why their deaths mattered. The aliens translated every word of her diary. They studied it like it was a textbook. They thought if they could understand her emotions, they could understand all humans. They created training programs based on her diary. They tried to teach their soldiers to feel fear and sadness and anger like humans do, but emotions cannot be programmed. The alien soldiers just became confused and ineffective. Meanwhile, the real war was still going on. Captain Lee Tae-min had survived the original battle and was now leading a resistance cell on Mars. He had learned that the aliens had built several of these research facilities. He decided to attack one of them. His team was small, just 8 people. They had managed to steal some alien weapons and a small ship. Their plan was simple: break into the facility, rescue as many prisoners as possible, and destroy the alien research. The facility was heavily guarded, but the aliens were not expecting an attack. They thought all the dangerous humans were on Earth. Lee Tae-min and his team fought their way inside. They found dozens of human prisoners who were being used in alien experiments. They also found something else: computers full of alien research about human behavior. "Look at this," said Communications Officer Kim Min-ji, who was now a part of his team. "They are trying to copy everything about us. Our tactics, our emotions, even our weapons." Lee Tae-min looked at the alien files. They had detailed studies of every human they had captured. They had tried to recreate human weapons and equipment. They had even tried to copy human art and music, but everything they had made was wrong. Their copies of human weapons looked right, but did not work as well as the originals. Their attempts at human art were cold and lifeless. Their soldiers trained in human tactics were clumsy and confused. "They do not understand," Lee Tae-min said. "They think they can learn to be human by reading about us. But being human is not something you can study in a book." Before they escaped, Lee Tae-min's team planted explosives throughout the facility. As they flew away in their stolen ship, they watched the building explode behind them. But they had taken something valuable with them: all the alien research files. These files showed exactly how the aliens were trying to understand and copy human behavior. The files eventually made their way to Dr. Park So-young on Europa. When she read them, she started laughing. "They are doing exactly what I hoped they would do," she told Professor Nam Ki-woo. "What do you mean?" "They are trying to become something they can never be. Every minute they spend trying to understand us is a minute they are not spending on being themselves. They are making themselves weaker by trying to copy our strengths." Park So-young began working on a new project. She called it the Human Advantage. It was a detailed explanation of why the aliens could never successfully copy human behavior. "They think courage is a tactic that can be learned," she wrote. "They think emotions are tools that can be programmed. They think humanity is just another military strategy that can be copied and improved. But they are wrong. Humanity is not a strategy. It is who we are. You cannot learn to be human any more than you can learn to be a different species entirely." The aliens' attempts to copy humans were not just failing. They were making the aliens weaker. Vorthic soldiers who had been trained in human tactics were less effective than normal Vorthic soldiers. Alien commanders who tried to think like humans made poor decisions. The galactic hegemony was slowly destroying itself from the inside, trying to become something it could never be. And the humans were just getting started. 2 years had passed since the Vorthic invasion began. The aliens controlled Earth, Mars, and the Moon, but they were starting to realize that control was not the same as victory. Warmaster Zendrik stood in his command center on Earth, looking at reports from across human space. Every day brought new problems. The resistance was growing stronger, not weaker. Worse, the Vorthic forces were becoming less effective as they tried to adapt to fight humans. "Sir, we have another situation," reported his aide, Commander Yeltos. The 3rd Battalion has refused to participate in the next pacification operation. Refused? That is impossible. Vorthic soldiers do not refuse orders. They say the human. Tactics training has made them unable to function properly. They cannot decide whether to follow standard procedures or try to think like humans. Half of them are paralyzed by confusion. Zendrik felt something he had never experienced before: despair. His perfect army was falling apart because they were trying to become something they were not. On Titan, Saturn's largest moon, Commander Ro Yune was preparing for the most important mission of her life. She had been a Navy pilot before the invasion. Now she led one of the most successful resistance cells in the outer system. Her team had discovered something incredible: a Vorthic facility where the aliens were trying to mass-produce human behavior. They called it Project Humanity. According to our intelligence, they have created an entire factory dedicated to copying human weapons, tactics, and even culture, she explained to her team of 15 fighters. Engineer Bei Haiyan Wu raised his hand. What do you mean by copying our culture? They are making human art, human music, human literature. They think if they can understand our culture, they can understand why we fight. Medic Seo Jun looked confused. But why would they want to understand us? Would it not be easier to just kill us all? That is what makes this so interesting, Ro Yune replied. They cannot kill us all because they need us. We are the only species that has ever given them real trouble. They think if they can learn to be like us, they can use our methods to conquer other worlds. The facility was on Titan's surface, hidden under a dome that looked like a research station. But inside, it was something much stranger. The aliens had built perfect copies of human buildings. They had recreated entire neighborhoods from Earth cities. They had even made artificial humans, robots that looked and acted like people. Vorthic. Scientists walked through these fake human spaces, trying to understand how humans lived and thought. They watched the robot humans go through daily routines. They studied copies of human families having dinner, children playing in parks, couples falling in love, but it was all fake. The robot humans had no real emotions. The copied buildings had no real history. The artificial families had no real love. Dr. Zenthos, the lead scientist on the project, was frustrated. No matter how perfectly they copied human behavior, something was always missing. The robot humans could say the right words and make the right movements, but they had no soul. We have recreated every aspect of human society, he reported to War Master Zendrik. But we still do not understand why they fight when fighting is pointless. Show me what you have learned. Zendrik ordered. Dr. Zenthos led him through the facility. They walked past robot families eating robot meals in robot homes. They saw artificial human children playing with toys that meant nothing to them. They watched fake human soldiers training for battles they would never understand. We have studied human art, Dr. Zenthos explained. They create pictures and songs about things that do not exist. They tell stories about heroes who sacrifice themselves for others. None of this has any practical purpose. And what do you conclude from this? That humans are fundamentally irrational. They value things that cannot be measured or weighed. They care more about ideas than about survival. Zendrik looked at the robot humans going through their meaningless daily routines. Can we replicate this irrationality? We have tried. We created artificial emotions for our soldiers. We programmed them to value abstract concepts like honor and freedom. The results were chaotic. The soldiers became unpredictable and ineffective. This was exactly what Commander Ro Yune was hoping to find when her team attacked the facility. They came in fast and quiet, using a stolen Vorthic transport ship. The facility's security was designed to keep people out, not to stop people who were already inside. Ro Yune and her team fought their way through the facility, but they were not just trying to destroy it. They were also recording everything they saw. Engineer Bei Haiyan Wu was amazed by what the aliens had built. "Look at this," he said, showing her a perfect copy of a human plasma rifle. "It looks exactly like ours, but watch this." He fired the alien copy at a target. The weapon worked, but it was weaker and less accurate than a real human weapon. "They copied the design perfectly," he explained, "but they do not understand why we built it this way. Human weapons are not just tools. They are extensions of human creativity and desperation. You cannot copy that." Medic Co Jin-Ah found something even more disturbing. In one room, alien scientists were trying to understand human compassion by studying medical procedures. Had created robot humans who were programmed to be injured and robot doctors who were programmed to help them. But the robot doctors showed no real concern for their patients. They went through the motions of caring without actually caring about anything. "This is horrible," Co Jin-Ah said. "They think compassion is just a set of actions you can learn. They do not understand that real compassion comes from the heart." But the most important discovery was in the central laboratory. There, Dr. Zingthus had created what he called the perfect human soldier. It was a robot that looked exactly like a human. It was programmed with every fighting technique the aliens had observed from human warriors. It could use any weapon, follow any tactic, and even sacrifice itself for a mission. But when Ro Yune looked into its eyes, she saw nothing. No fear, no anger, no hope, no love. It was just a machine pretending to be human. "This is what they think we are," she said to her team. "They think humans are just biological machines that can be replicated and improved." Before they destroyed the facility, Ro Yune recorded a message that would be broadcast across Vorthic space. "This is Commander Ro Yune of the Human Resistance. We have seen your attempts to copy us, and we want you to know something important. You can copy our weapons. You can copy our tactics. You can even copy our appearance. But you can never copy what makes us human." She held up one of the robot humans for the camera to see. "This is what you think we are. A collection of behaviors and responses that can be programmed and controlled. But you are wrong. Humanity is not something you can build in a factory. It is not something you can learn from a book. It is something you are born with, something you choose to be every day." The facility exploded behind them as they escaped. But the message had already been sent across the galaxy. For the first time, other species under Vorthek rule heard about humans. They learned that there was a species that refused to surrender, that kept fighting even when fighting seemed hopeless. And some of them began to wonder, if humans could resist the galactic hegemony, maybe they could too. The Vorthek had spent 2 years trying to become human. Instead, they had given humanity something far more valuable: hope for the entire galaxy. Back on Earth, Dr. Park So-young received the recordings from the Titan facility. She watched everything and smiled. "They still do not understand," she told Professor Nam Ki-woo. "They think humanity is a puzzle they can solve. But humanity is not a puzzle. It is a choice." "What do you mean?" "Every day, every human chooses to be human. We choose to care about things that do not make logical sense. We choose to fight for people we will never meet. We choose to believe in ideas that we cannot prove." She looked at the images of the robot humans with their empty eyes. "The aliens can copy everything about us, except the most important thing: the choice to be human. And without that choice, everything else is just pretend." The war was about to enter its final phase, and the Vorthik still did not understand what they were really fighting. The end began on a Tuesday morning when Dr. Park So-young sent a single message across the galaxy. She had been working on Europa for 3 years. studying the aliens and planning for this moment. Now she was ready to show the Vorthik what humans really were. The message was simple. To all humans everywhere. Today we stop running. Today we stop hiding. Today we show the galaxy who we are. But this was not a call for another battle. This was something the aliens had never seen before. General Hong Seok-jin stood in the command center of a hidden base on Pluto. He had been Admiral Kim Jae-ho's second-in-command before the invasion. Now he was the leader of all human resistance. Forces around him, representatives from every human colony and resistance cell, watched as he prepared to launch Operation Wildfire. "This is not a military operation," he explained to his officers. "We are not going to attack their ships or destroy their bases. We are going to attack something much more important, their understanding of reality." Captain Moon Young-ho had survived his earlier suicide mission and was now leading the Jupiter colonies, raised his hand. "Sir, what exactly are we attacking?" "Their minds," Hong Seok-jin replied. "For 3 years, they have been trying to understand us by studying US like laboratory animals. Today we teach them what it really means to be human." The plan was unlike anything that had ever been attempted in the history of warfare. Instead of weapons and explosives, the humans were going to use art, music, stories, and philosophy. Every human in the galaxy had been preparing for this moment. They had written songs about their home worlds. They had painted pictures of their families. They had composed poems about freedom and love and hope. They had recorded messages about what it meant to be human. All of this was going to be broadcast simultaneously across every communication channel in Vorthik Space. Ambassador HFY Sun-mi, who had been Earth's representative to the United Nations, before the war, stood ready at a hidden communication station. She had spent months preparing what she would say to the Vorthik leadership. "Are all stations ready?" she asked. Reports came in from across the solar system. Mars was ready. The Moon was ready. Europa, Titan, and the asteroid belt colonies were all ready. Even the hidden bases on Earth were prepared. "Begin Operation Wildfire," Hong Seok-jin ordered. Across the galaxy, every Vorthik communication system was suddenly flooded with human culture. War Master Zendrik was in his office when it started, his computer screen filled with images he had never seen before. A human child laughing as she played with a dog. An old man crying as he held his grandson for the first time. A woman singing a song about a place called home. At first, he thought it was some kind of attack on their systems. But his technicians quickly reported that the transmissions were not harmful. They were just human. "What is the purpose of this?" he demanded. But as he watched more of the transmissions, something strange began to happen. The images and sounds were affecting him in ways he did not understand. He saw a human soldier writing a letter to his mother before a battle. The soldier knew he might die, but he was not afraid. He was worried about his mother being sad. Zendrik had never written a letter to his mother. Vorthik did not have mothers in the same way humans did. Their young were raised by the state, trained to be perfect soldiers and workers. He saw human art. It showed things that did not exist. Dragons flying through clouds, angels watching over sleeping children, heroes fighting impossible odds to save people they loved. Vorthik art was different. It was designed to be efficient and practical. It showed real things in real places for real purposes. But the human art made him feel something he had no words for. Across Vorthik space, the same thing was happening to millions of alien soldiers and workers. They were seeing human culture for the first time, and it was changing them. Commander Vexter, who had been governing Earth, received a personal message from Ambassador HFY Sun-mi. "Commander," her voice said, "I know you have been trying to understand US for 3 years. You have studied our weapons, our tactics, our behavior. but you have been looking in the wrong places. The image on his screen showed W.I. Sun Mi sitting in a simple room, looking directly at the camera. You want to know why humans fight when we cannot win? You want to know why we refuse to surrender? You want to know what makes us different from every other species you have conquered? Vexter found himself leaning forward, genuinely interested in what she would say. The answer is love, W.I. Sun Mi continued. We fight because we love our families. We resist because we love our freedom. We refuse to surrender because we love the idea that our children might have a better future than we do. She paused, and Vexter saw something in her eyes that he had never seen in any Vorthik, complete certainty mixed with infinite sadness. You have been trying to copy our courage, our tactics, our technology, but you cannot copy love. Love is not a strategy. It is not a weapon. It is not something you can program into a soldier or build in a factory. Love is a choice. Every day, humans choose to love something more than themselves. That is what makes us dangerous to you. Not our weapons or our ships, but our willingness to die for something we cannot even touch. Similar messages were being broadcast across the galaxy. Humans were explaining their poetry, their music, their art, their philosophy. They were sharing their dreams, their fears, their hopes for the future. And something unprecedented was happening in Vorthik space. Rebellion, young Vorthik soldiers, who had spent their lives following orders without question, began to ask why they were fighting. Vorthik workers who had never thought about anything beyond their assigned tasks began to wonder what they wanted from life. The galactic hegemony, which had ruled through logic and force for thousands of years, suddenly faced something it had never encountered: subjects who were thinking for themselves. On the Vorthik home world, the Council of Dominion met in emergency session. The human transmissions are causing chaos throughout our territory, reported Council Member Vecthos. Our own people are beginning to question our authority. How is this possible? Demanded Council Leader Morthen. They are just images and sounds. They have no practical effect. That is precisely the problem, replied War Master Zendrak, who had joined the meeting via communication link. The humans are not attacking our ships or our weapons. They are attacking our certainty. Explain. For 3 years, we have tried to understand why humans fight when they cannot win. We assumed it was a tactical error, a flaw in their reasoning. But we were wrong. Humans fight because they have something we do not have, a reason to fight that goes beyond survival or conquest. The council fell silent. In thousands of years of rule, they had never encountered this problem. What do you recommend? Morthen asked. Zendrak looked tired. I recommend that we negotiate. Negotiate? With a species we have already defeated? Have we defeated them? They control no worlds, but their ideas are spreading across our empire. They have no armies, but they are inspiring rebellion in dozens of systems. They cannot win a military victory, but they may not need to. For the first time in galactic hegemony history, the Council of Dominion agreed to meet with their enemies as equals. The meeting took place on a neutral space station that had been built specifically for this purpose. General Hong Seog-jin led the human delegation. War Master Zendrak represented the Vorthik. What do you want? Zendrak asked. We want you to stop trying to be us, Hong Seog-jin replied. Explain. For 3 years, you have been trying to understand and copy human behavior. This has made you weaker, not stronger. Your soldiers are confused. Your people are questioning your authority. Your empire is becoming unstable. Zendrak knew this was true, but he did not understand why. We studied you to become more effective at conquest, he said. But that is not what conquest means to you, Hong Seog-jin replied. You conquer through superiority and logic. When your enemies see that resistance is futile, they surrender. This system has worked for thousands of years because it makes sense. Yes, but humans do not always make sense. We are not logical like you. We are not efficient like you. We are not superior like you. We are just stubborn. Hong Seok-jin smiled. You spent 3 years trying to become human so you could defeat us, but you already knew how to defeat us. You just had to accept that defeating us would cost more than it was worth. I do not understand. You could have destroyed Earth completely. You could have killed every human in the galaxy. Your technology is advanced enough to do it. But you did not, because that would have been wasteful and inefficient. Zendrik realized that Hong Seok-jin was right. The Vorthik could have committed genocide, but that was not their way. They preferred to convert conquered species into productive members of their empire. So what do you propose? Zendrik asked. We propose that you stop trying to change us or copy us. Let humans be human. Let Vorthik be Vorthik. We will live in our part of the galaxy, and you will live in yours. And the rebellion you have inspired in our territory. That is not our fault, Hong Seok-jin said gently. That is what happens when you show people that there are other ways to live. You cannot unteach an idea. The negotiations took 3 days. In the end, the agreement was simple. Humans would govern themselves in their own systems. The Vorthik would withdraw their occupation forces. In exchange,